The time is now 7 o'clock.
Investigation is ongoing into that fatal car accident that ultimately killed 9 people in front of Seoul City Hall. And we're hearing about the lives of the victims as their loved ones grieve their losses, paying tribute to the lives lost in this tragedy. At the same time, however, rampant rumors are ongoing about the suspect and the circumstances of the accident, all of which the police have refuted. And these rumors or revelations often take form of vigilante justice. And sometimes these acts come out as a result of frustration against the justice system. However, we do have to let the authorities do their job to bring the person or parties responsible to justice. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Thursday, July 4th on befm, 부산영어방송. Good morning, listeners, wavers out there. I hope you are all surviving the heat wherever you are. It's just so hot and kind of unbearable. It's been kind of muggy too. And also, to any of our listeners abroad or expats here in Korea who observe the American Independence Day, it is the 4th of July, so I did want to make note of that. However, our top story today is all about that fatal car accident that happened on Monday night, where ultimately 9 people, they lost their lives after a sedan basically crashed through the road in front of Seoul City Hall. And it was going the wrong way on a one-way street. The circumstances of this accident are leaving so many questions. We have so many questions, some of which we have addressed already, like the issue of senior drivers and the claim that the vehicle accelerated on its own. And while these claims have been addressed in the media or through rumors, well, it's something that the police still need to investigate, that they're going to have to determine whether any of the details are true or not. And there is one claim that they refuted outright. There have been rumors going about online about what allegedly happened inside the vehicle between the suspect and his wife before the accident occurred, which I want to make clear is apparently not true. So rumors circulated that the couple had gotten into a fight, into an argument, and this is what may have led up to the accident, saying that the argument was recorded on the car's dashboard camera. However, the police have officially denied these claims and have asked the public and the media to not report on unsubstantiated claims. And hence, we didn't talk about it because nothing had been proven up to that point. And we do understand the frustration and the disbelief and maybe even a little bit of anger also as why did this happen? And the need to have our questions, burning questions answered. Right now, though, it is time to let the authorities do their jobs respectively to figure out what exactly happened. Because ultimately, with any tragedy, we can't change the past, but we can change the future. So if there are steps that need to be taken, yes, they do need to be addressed. So that is our main topic for today. We have so much to talk about. So for our text topic, we're going to switch gears completely. We're going to talk about sales. So it's summer. I see so many sales going on right now, both online, offline. But let me ask you this. Do sales affect whether you buy something or not? Oh, also, which do you prefer? The buy one, get one free, or in Korea, they call it like 1+1, or getting something 50% off. And you might think, well, ultimately, per item, isn't it the same thing? Not quite, right? And we'll get into that. But, buy one, get one free, or 50% off. Which do you prefer? 자, 오늘의 주제는 세일입니다. 여러분은 세일하면 필요 없어도 사는 편이신지 아니면 세일의 영향 전혀 받지 않는다. 그리고 세일 중에서는 1+1 아니면 50% 할인 둘 중에 뭐가 더 좋으신지. Yesterday, this exact scenario happened. I went to a convenience store. I had, partaken in some, form of exercise, and I wanted something really cold, so I grabbed, that flavored ice. It's in the ice cream section, but it's flavored ice. So I grabbed it. I went to the counter, and then the person at the counter said, "Oh, it's 2+1." I was like, but I only want one. So I really sat there for like about 30 seconds contemplating, do I need 3? So it happens in everyday life. You can let us know your opinions on this sales through our live stream live chat on YouTube. So what you do is you go to YouTube, search for befm or 부산영어방송. And then you subscribe, you log in, and you can chat with our other waivers out there. We have pound 9050, and that's going to cost you 101. You can reach me for free also on Kakao Talk. There are various ways you can listen or watch us, like I mentioned, on the YouTube platform, but the 90.5, 103.3 FM, we're on the radio dial definitely, and you can also use the Papang app at your convenience. It is Thursday, so we have Lydia coming in for Beyond the Headlines, and we have Han with City Insights. For our special interview, we're going to be covering a very hot topic. So we all know Son Woong-jung, but also his father and also his brother in the news lately. Legalities regarding the Son Woong-jung, his father, and the legalities around that situation where there are allegations of child abuse at his academy. So we're going to delve into that. That's coming up in hour number 2. Up next, today's headlines. The time is now 7:07. These are today's headlines. Ruling party filibusters special probe bill on Marine's death. The opposition Democratic Party, or DP, tabled a bill calling for a special counsel investigation into the military's response to a Marine's death last year, prompting a filibuster from the ruling People Power Party, or PPP. Yoon announces support for small businesses and lambasts DP's cash handout plan. President Yoon Suk-yeol yesterday announced a comprehensive plan worth 25 trillion won for customized support for small businesses and critiqued the opposition DP's cash handout proposal. Asan Medical Center professors to adjust treatment starting today. Professors affiliated with the Asan Medical Center will voluntarily adjust treatment starting today as a group of around 1,000 patients and their families will hold a rally in protest of the doctors' collective action. Son Woong-jung's father questioned over child abuse accusation. Chuncheon prosecutors questioned Son and 2 of the coaches at the Son Football Academy on Tuesday over accusations that they had physically and verbally abused a young player. Deadly hurricane Beryl headed for Jamaica after killing 7. At least 7 people have been killed in the path of the storm across Grenada, Venezuela, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The Category 4 hurricane is expected to make landfall in Jamaica, then to the Cayman Islands. And these are today's headlines. Let's say hi to Haley. She's in the studio for Busan Updates. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, are you affected by sales? That is a text topic.
Love a sale. Love a good sale. I heard from a show, it was like about like a finance show. A sale, like the percentage of sale, it basically tells you the likelihood that you're going to buy something.
Oh.
So if it's 50% off, there's a 50% likelihood you're going to buy it. If it's 80% off, definitely. There's an 80% chance that you're going to buy it.
Interesting.
And it's true.
It's true.
For me, at least.
I see. All right, we're going to dive into our first update. First, there is this trio of tunnels in our city, notorious for a high number of accidents that often pop up during a traffic report.
Right. So these three are the Baegang, Yunsan, and Hwangyang tunnels. And unfortunately, we do report on accidents. And they all have one thing in common. Ineffective traffic light system going out of the tunnel. So what I mean is for one, Baegang Tunnel, that's been seeing an increase in accidents back from in 2021. There were 45 accidents in 1 year to 76 last year. And it has two major congestion spots. One is from Mora to Tanggam, where there's a common pattern of cars rear-ending, which means basically hitting the vehicle in front of them as they couldn't slow down in time. So this sudden congestion is apparently caused by the left turn signal from Baegang Tunnel Ogui three-way intersection on Gwanmun-daero. So it's basically right outside the tunnel. There's this long line of cars waiting to turn left towards the City Hall direction. Basically, as the cars are stopped, if cars are barreling out of the tunnel, you have to slow down in time. Some don't. Also moving on to Yunsan Tunnel, as you can see on our YouTube feed, the little map there. They also saw 76 accidents last year, although that's actually a significant decrease. So this tunnel also too has a left turn light outside the tunnel, and that goes towards Hwamyeong. And the lane for this left turn, it is short. It's only 20 meters long. So cars form these long lines and vehicles coming out of the tunnel. That tunnel, the speed limit is 70 kilometers per hour. Well, they don't stop in time and rear ends ensue. This, by the way, these rear ends at that particular light accounted for 94% of accidents last year.
That is so unfortunate. But what about Hwangyang Tunnel? That's like on our traffic report basically almost every day.
Right, and I drive through it every single morning, and that's caused by Munhyun intersection, and which I try to avoid that area if possible. So the congestion there carries into the tunnel, and the intersection, it's a little bit of a mess because I think it has 3-4 left turn lanes, and each lane takes you to a different direction once you turn left. So, but then some cars don't know, or some cars are trying to cut in because I believe lane 1 takes you up to Dongsa Overpass, lane 2 into Pomnaekgol, and lane 2 is a mess. Unfortunately, accidents happen there. So these three tunnels also, unfortunately, were in the top 5 most accident-prone tunnels in the entire country. So of 5, 3 in Busan. So
very telling.
It's really not something that we want to put our names on that list. So Hwangyang Tunnel actually recently got a 50 kilometer per hour speed limit, but Busan City says the fundamental issue lies with the light system. So they are actually working with the police to improve this signal system.
Yes. There are areas in Busan where I do often wonder where like the planning of the lights, like sometimes it's like a green light, you get there to the next light, it's red. But the next 3 are green. So I kind of wonder like the timing of this signal system.
I mean, the thing about Busan is our city just kind of happened. A lot of the traffic system happened. So I'm glad they're getting to it at least now.
Yes. All right. Let's move on. There was a boulder, meaning a huge rock that rolled down a hill and fell on a part of an apartment building.
Right. So good news, no one was hurt. But according to Saha District, a boulder, this huge rock, it basically rolled down, fell from a hill behind an apartment complex in Dangri, crashed into the outer walls of this 3-story building. But it did damage the wall, although no one was hurt. The accident likely happened because of the heavy rain that we saw throughout the weekend into earlier this week, and that weakened the foundation. So it's basically kind of a landslide with just one rock. So the district evacuated 80 residents of the apartment and put up a no entry line. But once again, we are seeing very sunny skies today. But we are still in the midst of the rain season. And if we keep having the rain build up, the foundation will be weakened. So if you do live or are around any hills, please do be aware.
Yes, indeed. All right, moving on. Next up, the Busan City Office of Education is holding a college admissions counseling session, and that's coming up next week.
Because it's that time of year.
Again.
So the 2024 University Admissions Counseling Camp will take place from July 13th to 14th at Bexco. And this is for high school students, teens who are outside the school system, their parents or guardian teachers, and basically anyone who needs admissions information. So it'll provide admissions information for major schools, both in Seoul and Busan, the types of admissions, because there are so many in Korea, as well as for early admission sushi students for the 2025 school year.
Yes.
The slogan for this year is Pop-up Stores for My Successful College Admissions. And it'll include representatives from 76 universities, including those major in Seoul universities, along with the Korea Student Aid Foundation and other relevant industries and departments.
Sure.
And there will be information booths for schools and briefing sessions on early admissions. And because this is, of course, the top issue of interest, medical school admissions, the
That's right.
expanded quota. So there will be 2 sessions held specifically focusing on those points.
Yes, I know that's of much interest to many parents. And I actually know lots of parents who like to go even before their kids are in high school. So they want
Right.
the lowdown beforehand.
Because it is all about information.
It is.
Right.
All right, on to our next topic. We have some good news about Busan's status in the international community. Good news.
Yes, so according to the Economist Intelligence Unit, or the EIU, and their 2024 Global Livability Index, so basically how good is a city to live in, Busan City, the 6th best in all of Asia.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
well
pretty high
done.
up.
Pretty high up. So the EIU measures livability and based on safety, medical access, culture, environment, education, and basic infrastructure.
Yes.
So here, Busan City received 87 points out of 100, so it's a solid B+, pretty good, maintaining 6th place position in Asia as it did last year. And it especially received high marks on the international finance sector aspect and global intelligence city. So Mayor Park Hyung-jun said that Busan is a great place to live in with its nature and the warmth of the people. We can definitely vouch for that and pledge to raise global awareness of Busan's brand.
Right, and when you think about it, think about all the Asian cities that we can name. But we're number 6. I think that's pretty
Yeah,
good. Yes.
pretty good.
All right, finally, a fun dance festival kicks off today.
It does, and it's the Busan Step Up Dance Festival, and it starts today and through the 7th. So this provides, number one, performance opportunities for young street dancers, for the city to seek out new talent, and also provide you and me, the general public, with entertainment.
Yay.
Because dance is fun. Actually, I think this was just subconsciously in my mind. I started watching like dance videos on YouTube from like Supa, Street Woman Fighter, when I was at the gym yesterday.
Sure.
Definitely extended my workout. So yeah, it was pretty good. So there's the individual competition section with the World Street One-on-One Battle. The group category is called the Dance Performance World Championship. Oh, and by the way, speaking of Street Woman Fighter, the celebrity judges will include Pada. From Supa, the winner
Yes.
of Supan. Akane shows and Waxy, they're all from the popular show, and many others. And then other events include, for kids, the Junior Street Championship, the World Street Dance classes, and multiple talks.
Sure.
So all the events take place across the Cinema Center, Museum 1 in Senton City, and Seomyeon's 상상마당.
Oh, sounds like so much fun for everybody. So thanks for all the updates, Haley. And now it's back to you, the listeners. It's all about our text topic, sales. 네. It's that time. Sales during summer. Very, very common. So do sales, something being on sale, does it affect whether you buy something or not? I definitely think certain things though, like food or drinks, it's kind of like, you might just grab it, especially if you're at a convenience store. But what about your shopping habits? So 1+1, does that tempt you? Or 50% off? Is there a difference? Is there not? So let me know about that. And here is your traffic and weather for now. It is now at 7:18, and this is your traffic report. There is an accident on Byeongno going away from the city. It's right past the Wondong interchange, so you might want to avoid that area or at least know about it so you can expect some backup right there. There is also congestion on the Dongso overpass going from Hwangryong ramp to the old Daegum toll gate. As for the weather, it's currently 24 degrees under sunny skies. It's going to be a sunny one today here in Busan. The daytime high is expected to go all the way up to 32 degrees. Elsewhere across the country, we might see some heavy rain concentrated in the capital area, parts of Gangwon and Chungnam, spreading to Chungbuk and Gyeongbuk by nighttime. Thunderstorms and strong winds are forecast from tonight to tomorrow morning, so please be aware of this and prepare. This was your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
It is time for News Digest, and Haley is here to give us the details on the biggest news stories we have. So first up, we need some updates on that investigation into that fatal Seoul City Hall car crash.
Right. So actually, the police said the number of injured from that accident has increased from 6 to 7. So there was one pedestrian who was taken to a hospital without the authorities' knowledge on the day or the night of. And Cha, the driver himself, has been hospitalized with broken ribs as well. So in terms of the probe, the Seoul Namdaemun police station said that they confirmed that his car began speeding from the entrance of the hotel where the vehicle exited after they came out of the underground parking lot, although the police declined to comment on the exact speed the car was going.
Okay.
And also they got statement from the driver's wife, also in her 60s, was in the car in the passenger seat at the time of the accident, that she basically made a statement to the effect that the brakes did not work. But he also once again declined to disclose the contents of the car's black box or the dash cam video.
Yes.
Also, some changes coming as we're finding out more about it. The police actually reversed their previous announcement regarding the skid marks that were left on the scene. The police said that there were no skid marks because that would be key in proving kind of whether, how fast the vehicle was going, whether the brakes had worked and whatnot.
Okay.
So what they thought was skid marks initially were traces of the engine coolant from the tire marks. So that could be a significant bit of information moving forward into the investigation.
Yes, indeed. So, of course, we'll be following this story, and this is our main story today. In the meantime, there was another accident in Seoul where the driver claims, once again, sudden unintended acceleration of 급발진, right?
Right. So a man in his 60s, a different person, a taxi driver, plowed his taxi into the emergency ward of the National Medical Center in the Junggu district at 5:15 yesterday. And just, weird bit of coincidence. This is where some of the victims' funerals are being held, actually, from the other accident. So that left 3 pedestrians injured, including 1 serious injury. The other 2 minor injuries. So actually, the driver was not under the influence of alcohol. The police did immediately put him under investigation because the driver was actually pretty much unscathed, and they're trying to determine the exact cause of the crash. The driver here also claims that his car reportedly unintentionally accelerated.
I see. All right, we're going to leave those accidents there next. We previously talked about the spike in this call for President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment. We've talked about that. And that petition now has received over 1 million signatures.
Right. So the petition calling for the parliament to vote on President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment has now exceeded 1 million, and that's as of yesterday morning. So already it's actually been introduced as a bill at the Legislative and Judiciary Committee, and that was at the 50,000 mark. But it actually kept climbing after, one, the memoir by former National Assembly Speaker Kim Jin-pyo, which allegedly said that the president expressed suspicions of manipulation into the Itaewon tragedy. And the current Speaker of the National Assembly, Woo Won-sik, has had to order for the website to actually expand its server as so many people are going in. And you remember I was trying to log on at, I think, 5 or 6 in the morning to just report on it, and the wait was already 2 hours at that point.
I see. So there have been impeachment requests for other presidents, and if memory serves me correct, but never to this extent.
Right, so we're not going to talk about the actual impeachment that happened, but just to his predecessor, there was an impeachment request proposal for former President Moon Jae-in, which received 100,000 signatures, and that bill was also sent to the Legislative and Judiciary Committee, but because it was never actually discussed under the Democratic Party-controlled parliament, it just was discarded. But difference between what happened back then and now and how explosive it is, the difference is 100-fold. I mean, there's a 1 million versus 100,000. And actually, there was a 청와대 petition years ago that called for former President Moon Jae-in's impeachment. That did receive 1.4 million likes or signatures. However, there was another petition that was in support of President Moon Jae-in that received 1.5 million signatures. And there is a fundamental difference because back then when we had the 청와대 petition site, the log-on process was really easy. You could do that via any of your social media sites or your messenger app. And I believe you could have liked it multiple times depending on how many social media accounts you had.
I see.
The National Assembly, the Parliament petition system, there's actually, you have to like log on. You have to like fully
Multiple steps.
put in your address, your name, and personal information. So there's a bit of work that goes into it.
Okay.
So some people say that the impeachment movement against President Yoon was spearheaded by the Democratic Party and or Speaker Woo Won-sik, but there is no evidence substantiating that.
Well, what's the legality of this impeachment bill, of it actually going up the chain of line of the legislative process? What happens?
So at least to that question, it can, but will the president be impeached as a result of it? I wouldn't bet on it.
Okay.
So the Democratic Party is of the position that it will assess the bill under the legislative hierarchy, under the law. And spokesperson for the party, Han Min-soo, said the impeachment is decided on by the people. We're actually going to fact check that in a little bit, but I think he meant more symbolically. So the Legislative and Judiciary Committee is headed by a Democrat.
Yes.
But it also needs to go through the Small Committee on Petitions, which assesses how feasible, possible, realistic a petition is. That committee also headed by a Democratic Party lawmaker. But for an impeachment bill to be introduced as a floor vote, the parliament needs to prove that the president or the person who is to be impeached violated a law. Or multiple laws.
Yes.
However, this particular petition cites the president's veto or the vetoes of the special counsel bills on the Marine Corporal's death, as well as the First Lady. So vetoes are not law violations.
True.
So there's the legality of that. So even if the bill does get voted on, you need a 2/3 majority or 200 out of 300 lawmakers. The pan-opposition party has 191 lawmakers. So actually putting it up for a vote and getting the impeachment rejected could really turn public opinion against the Democratic Party and the opposition sphere. So that would flip the situation for the president. So most likely we won't see a floor vote. It'll just kind of be a matter of political dispute.
I see. Thanks for explaining. All right, let's move on to our next issue, which is water safety. It's of utmost importance this time of year especially. But not many people, especially adults, apparently wear life jackets.
Guilty. I mean, if I'm swimming in the ocean,
Yes.
I'm not wearing one. If I'm on a boat, definitely strapped into one. But
Yes.
we do hear about these drowning accidents, unfortunately, from people going into the ocean, perhaps in an intoxicated state, after hours, or just even swimming or even fishing.
Sure.
And we did have all three of these cases come to unfortunate reality on May 9th, the 31st, and June 1st of this year.
Oh,
and that was
already.
even before beach season started. So the commonality, none of the victims had on life jackets. And the case from May 9th, it was someone who was fishing. He had a life jacket like on the boat, but just wasn't wearing one. Right. So one could argue, and experts do, that when you're on sea, life jackets basically serve the same role as a seatbelt in a vehicle.
Sure.
But I mean, I'm sure we all wear seatbelts. Although, 83% of people wear seatbelts in a car, which I'm like, why isn't that 100?
Exactly.
So what's happening with, the 17%? Anyways, but only 14% of people, when surveyed, say that they wear life jackets, in water. And this is actually based on the Coast Guard, who said last year there were 651 accidents on oceans in the sea, resulted in 120 people dead or missing. But of the over 1,000 people who were involved in these accidents, only 14 were wearing life jackets, and they all survived.
Yes.
So the Coast Guard says that regarding the 3 people who did die, had those people been wearing life jackets, many of them could have been saved. So please do. So the Coast Guard is running a life jacket wearing campaign. So you might be able to see them through major supermarkets and convenience stores.
Right. So let's spread the word and let's practice it also. For our final story, we're going to go to the U.S. The Democratic Party, where names are being floated as a potential replacement for Joe Biden. It has begun.
It
right?
has begun. So after the debate debacle involving President Joe Biden, former President Donald Trump. Democrats, and we're talking about lawmakers from Congress, major donors, just to everyday voters, have been throwing around some alternatives. So we're going to go through some of the names. We're not saying that there is talk officially on an official level to replace Biden, but we're just going to go through the major names. The most obvious choice, Vice President Kamala Harris. So she actually won some favors after the immediate post-debate interview by the Biden camp when she said, quote, "I'm not going to spend all night with you talking about the last 90 minutes when I've been watching the last 3.5 years of performance." And that immediately, apparently she came up with that on the fly by herself. And that's been kind of the byline of the Biden campaign. And Jill Biden has been quoting that as well.
Yes.
Here's the thing, though. Her approval ratings are not high. So there's really no point in replacing one person with another when their figures are pretty much the same. And the thing is, she has positioned herself as the biggest Biden supporter since the debate, and kind of flipping on that could backfire.
Okay.
So we're going to leave that there. And then we're looking at 2, potentially 3 governors. There's a Californian governor, but mostly Michigan's Gretchen Whitmer and Pennsylvania's John Shapiro have been named as 2 swing state Democratic governors. And that's major because likely this year the election will be determined by a small group of voters, undecided voters in swing states.
Yes.
And here's their upside, and this speaks to the election itself. Excitement. They're new. They're fresh.
Yes.
Because here's the thing about Donald Trump. People have opinions, and it's either to the extreme, they either love him or they hate him.
Right.
But people who do love him, he has a very strong block of supporters. But then when we bring that to President Joe Biden, he may be less polarizing, but there's significantly less love. And that's according to poll numbers.
Yes.
So there are fewer people who are excited to actually vote for him. So excitement and voter mobilization is actually key. Once again, you want to get the undecided voters out there. And this is true of really every election. So the thing about Whitmer and Shapiro, they would be first. One would be first female president, or the first Jewish president. And these first are important if you look at, for example, Barack Obama, on how that really mobilizes voters.
Well, while we're on the topic of Obama, another Obama, Michelle Obama, her name has been kind of floating out there for a while.
Right. So Barack can't run because he's maxed out on 2 terms, but his wife can. And that's kind of been the logic. So according to an Ipsos poll, the former First Lady is the only hypothetical candidate to definitively beat Trump in the poll. Michelle Obama also tops the charts in favorability amongst registered voters. And even Trump and both Biden and Trump, they're behind her by more than 10 percentage points each. Although, I mean, this is just speculation because she has previously said that she's not seeking the Oval Office.
Right.
And here's the thing. The White House, so Joe Biden's office, they're saying he's staying. And that came out earlier this morning, Korea time. The press secretary, John Pierce, saying that Biden is, quote, clear-eyed and he's staying, although they did admit that the last few days have been challenging.
Right, but yesterday when she took the podium, she had to answer a lot of hard-hitting questions. Like straight-up questions like, you know, his mental facilities, like is he okay? Does he suffer from this illness or that? And she was definitely in this defensive posture.
Right.
And even with Kamala Harris, they did a poll, and the latest poll from CBS says that if she were to go head-to-head with Trump, he stands at like 45, 46. She stands about 43, which is still higher than Joe Biden.
Right.
So. Anyhow, we're going to end it on that note. Nothing definitive. Nothing's been said from the Democratic Party. So we'll see. We'll just wait.
We'll have to see.
All right. Thank you so much for the news. We'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
And with that, we are ready for our first song. Here it is. This is Desire by Years and Years.
Keep us compromising. Open
Welcome back, everybody. Let's get back to our main story today. We're talking about, generally speaking, we spoke about that, the accident, obviously. But citizens, when citizens try to jump in and some people say maybe aid in the justice system, well, it can be helpful sometimes. For example, when people report certain things to the authorities, that's a good thing. However, problems may arise when people try to take justice into their own hands. What about this case? The owner of an unmanned sandwich shop is facing libel and defamation charges for accusing a girl of theft. According to the girl's parents, the middle school student bought a 3,400 won sandwich with her smartphone. But when she returned to the store 2 days later, there was a photo of her face that was posted in the store, accusing her of stealing the sandwich without paying. Well, it does seem that there was some sort of malfunction with the kiosk because it's an unmanned store with a display, but her transaction, it did go through. And so it does seem the owner may have acted hastily, imprudently. Of course, there have been plenty of cases where unruly customers have taken stuff without paying, or maybe they made a mess of these unmanned stores. But openly posting a photo of a customer's face can result in legal charges. So this is an area where you need to really act with an abundance of caution. Make sure of anything, and I don't know, the whole legalities behind maybe pixelating the photos and serving as a warning, and even that may get you into some hot waters. So just please be careful about that, about falsely accusing someone as well. Now back to our text topic. It's all about purchasing and sales. It's summer. So many sales. Yesterday, I went to the mart, and because I went late at night, there was like a special 10% extra off of watermelon. And it did tempt me, but I saw the remaining watermelon. And you know, they talk about like that gokji, about it being dried out. It didn't get purchased. So tell me about sales and whether they affect your purchases. And here's your hot clip for today. Today's hot clip, there may be a bit of good news for people suffering from Alzheimer's because there is another drug that has just been approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, that shows in clinical trials to modestly slow a decline in memory and thinking abilities with Alzheimer's. So here is a clip from CBS News.
In today's Health Watch, there's new hope for people living with Alzheimer's, a disease that affects almost 7 million Americans. The FDA approved a new treatment just yesterday designed to slow the progression of early symptomatic Alzheimer's disease. This sounds important and very exciting, is it?
Yeah, I mean, it is to me. It's an incremental advance. The medication is called donanemab. The brand name is Kisunla. And what it did is in a big trial, it slowed the decline of cognitive function overall by about 22% over 18 months. And even more if you started off with less severe disease. And that may sound like, oh, what's the big deal? Well, that's a big deal if you have a wedding, something in your life, if you want to do something. So that's an incremental advance. We're not reversing it. It's not a cure.
You're slowing it down.
Slow the decline. I think that's important. It works by binding amyloid, which we've heard about for years, this gooey substance that covers the nerves and it stops the nerve cells from talking with each other. And the idea was to try to get that out. They do it with monthly infusions.
Who should be taking it?
It's only been shown to work for people with early onset cognitive dysfunction.
How early are we talking?
There are different ways of measuring it, and you do tests. And in the early part of dementia, it has to be Alzheimer's. You have to have that amyloid stuff, right? Okay. And if you remember, about a year ago, we were sitting around here the same thing with a different drug called lecanemab, or the brand name is Leqembi, and it had a kind of a similar finding. And why is that important? Same kind of approach, For years, why was it that all of those trials, remember how many of them, I remember doing it 20 years ago, we're going to give amyloid, we're going to sop up, we're going to give drugs to sop up the amyloid and the people are going to do better. They didn't do better. And the answer is we were probably giving it too late. Now what's happened is there are more advanced imaging techniques like PET amyloid, PET scans that can look at amyloid in somebody's brain and make that diagnosis while they're still alive and say, oh, they may have minimal symptoms, but you know what? They're on their way. They have early Alzheimer's, and let's try to treat them earlier rather than later.
And I want to clarify that Alzheimer's is the most common cause of dementia. So I did a bit of research. Here in Korea, as of 2021, according to multiple medical reports, of the 840,000 dementia patients, 치매 patients aged 65 or older, 76% of the dementia patients in Korea were suffering from Alzheimer's. And this is why I wanted to at least bring this news up to our listeners here in Busan. This was your hot clip for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It is now time for Lydia and Beyond the Headlines. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, you're so summery. You got the shades on, like a headband.
Oh,
No, it's okay. I like it. It's your style today.
It is sunny today.
Yes, it's very, very California-esque.
It's beautiful outside. I hope everybody gets some vitamin D today.
Indeed. Really, really quick. Sales. Mm-hmm. Do you like sales? Are you moved by sales to buy something?
Yes, my heart is moved by sales. However, only if it's something that I already have my eyes on. I already had my eyes on. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't just be like
a random thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not an impulse
consumer.
shopper. That's good.
I'm not as impulsive as I used to be.
Right, I remember
I'm
you
getting
mentioned
better.
that.
Yes.
We're all
I hope my mom's
working
listening
on that.
to this.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, let's dive into some stuff. What do you have for us today?
Yeah, so we're, continuing the conversation about the election 2024 U.S. presidential election. It's getting closer, and the battle between President Biden and former President Donald Trump is heating up, not just on the campaign trail, but also in the ad spending wars. In Korea, public candidates also spend a lot of money on, political advertising, and running for office can be quite expensive. But
yes,
the scale of spending in America is on a whole different level.
Yes, it is. And we have covered previously that the Biden campaign spent, $50 million on ads just last month.
Yeah, that's right. And as part of that $50 million investment they said they made, the campaign released a 30-second advertisement titled Character Matters, which basically calls out Trump for his criminal defenses while Biden was working hard in the office. And if you're one of the lucky people in the battleground, these swing states, you're probably seeing a lot of advertising and on cable TV. This announcement, of course, followed successful campaign fundraising efforts this year for Biden. So in June, Biden campaign and his allies raised more than $30 million during a single fundraiser in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Former President Barack Obama was there. Some actors, George Clooney, Julia Roberts, comedian Jimmy Kimmel were among the famous people who attended. It basically broke the record for the Dems' largest fundraising event. Additionally, according to the Washington Post, former New York City mayor / billionaire Michael Bloomberg also donated close to $20 million to the Biden fundraise campaign.
Right.
And on Tuesday, the campaign also announced that they had raised $264 million just in the second quarter of this year. So that's like May, June. It's not even over yet.
Yes.
This impressive haul, some may say, may have helped to calm the fears within their own party and the donors after Biden's pretty shaky debate performance last week. However, they said that they also raised $38 million throughout that day after the debate and that weekend. And most of it came from the first-time individual donors.
So everybody's still talking about that debate.
Yes.
And so it's kind of like pre and post is what we're calling it. So
Yes.
what about Donald Trump? Let's talk about his biggest donations to date.
Right. Well, Trump campaign announced that they raised $331 million in the second quarter so far. That's roughly $67 million more than the Biden campaign.
Yes.
A huge chunk of that money came from Timothy Mellon, who is an 81-year-old billionaire who was born into one of the wealthiest families in the U.S.
Right.
He had donated $50 million to the Trump campaign super PAC, Make America Great Again, just a day after Trump was found guilty in the hush money scandal in New York. Matter of fact, that event sort of triggered an avalanche of contributions to Trump campaign from lots of different people, lots of different organizations. But Mellon's contribution is now considered to be the largest disclosed individual donation in the 2024 election.
Right. And some of you might be wondering, have I heard that name before? The Mellon family, famous for banking, finance, and even, universities.
Yeah, but apparently Mellon family, for what he did, he was like a chairman for, the Pan Am, the airline and transportation.
Sure.
It's like huge family.
Indeed. So these swing states, what's the deal with ad spending there? Because this is like the crux, very important as to who will take the Oval Office come November.
Yeah, that's, the unique thing about the American election system. Both candidates are pouring millions into advertisements to sway voters. So
Yes.
Biden's campaign is, it seems like for now, he's focusing heavily on digital platforms, aiming to reach younger voters and swing states with targeted messaging. Meanwhile, Trump is more so utilizing traditional media with ads that emphasize his key campaign promises and mostly criticisms of the current administration. Democrats are outspending, though, Republicans by more than double in these ads at the moment, particularly in 7 critical states. And those are Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Since March this year, overall, more than $70 million has been spent on ads, including TV, radio, satellite, and digital. Almost 70% of those $70 million has been spent in these 7 key states out of all 50 states.
Yes.
Especially, do you want to guess which state they spend the most money in?
I don't know. This is a tough one.
Okay. So in the last election, this state was where everybody was like, oh my gosh, is this going to flip? What's going to happen? It was the state where everything started, where this country started.
Oh, where this country started?
Yes.
So it has to be on the East Coast.
Absolutely. You're
All right.
right.
So it has
You're
to
a
be
smart individual.
Pennsylvania.
You're right. Yes.
Yay.
In Pennsylvania, they're spending
Thank
the
God I got
most
that right.
money.
Yes.
Yeah. So they spend $20 million out of $70 million on ads in Pennsylvania so far. Both Trump and Biden combined. What that really means is almost $3 out of $10 they spend on these ads is going to Pennsylvania in the moment.
Wow.
And, if you take a look at the spending state by state, in every state, Biden and his allies are without a doubt outspending former President Trump and the groups, supporting Trump. In some places, Trump hasn't even been on TV ads so far, even yet. So for instance, by end of May, while Biden had already spent close to $2 million on ads in North Carolina, Trump reported to have spent $0 in North Carolina on political spending.
However, nonetheless, the polls show as of now, as of broadcast time, that Biden is still behind in many states, including some of the swing states, right?
Yes, that too, which is which is like a sad reality to a lot of people, I guess, who's supporting him. But the reason that, Trump hasn't spent any money on ads so far isn't because he can't afford them, obviously.
Yes.
Although, he is spending a lot of money on his legal trials. Rather, some experts are saying it seems that, at least for Trump right now, his team is choosing to hold its fire under the election as until the election gets closer. But we'll see how effective that strategy is. But, Biden is aiming for a different strategy right now. He's like going in right now.
Right now.
Bam, bam, bam. Trying to like dominate this whole like conversation. But it is going to be very close race, a lot of people are saying.
Yes.
And every marginal advantage you can get is going to be very meaningful for both candidates. And according to data, this election cycle is on track to be the most expensive on record.
Well, I don't doubt it. Real quick, you mentioned another important strategy for these political ads, young voters earlier. So what's the latest news on this?
So social media is having a meltdown over Biden's debate performance, this debate again. He was struggling with Gen Z voters at the moment. He is. Many of whom get news from this
social media
platform starts with T from China. And, those young voters are turning to televisions less and less. And according to a Pew Research Center survey from last year, roughly 1 out of 3 American people aged between 18 and 29 consistently get their news from this platform. Like
that
1
is
out of 3.
Significant.
Yes.
Yes.
A different study that analyzed the top 450 videos posted on this platform.
Yes.
These like little reels, right? About the debate had 500 million views and found that 39% of those people who view the video had negative sentiment towards Biden alone.
Right. So that goes to show you that short form, whatever platform we're talking about has a big effect on younger voters. And of course, they're an important demographic these days. So
yeah, and especially if they're seeing things like, some of these clips compared Biden now to Biden of the past. So like a side-by-side video situation where,
yes.
How Biden was doing in 2012, as a vice president debate versus like him the other day. A lot of comments were saying that, he seemed like a different man. And
he is 81.
It's just,
right.
He's 80. I think that's a fundamental fact that no matter how many ads that are being spent on,
yes.
it's something you cannot change.
Right. Well, thank you so much for getting into all the political spending for this campaign season. And we will definitely check in with you next week. Thank you.
Yeah, see you next week, guys.
Everybody, this was Lydia. We're going to wrap it up with this song. You've Got a Friend of Me by the Gypsy Kings. Enjoy. I'll be back at 8.
Hay un amigo en mí, hay un amigo en mí. Cuando salgan a volar, hay un amigo en mí. Sí, un amigo en mí, hay un amigo en mí. Hay un amigo en mí, hay un amigo en mí. Cuando salgan a volar, hay un amigo en mí. Sí, un amigo en mí, hay un amigo en mí. Hay mucho que puede ser un poco malisto, mas nunca habrá que puede ser un amigo.
Your Bridge to the World.
No vas a ver.
It is now 8 o'clock and this is News Highlights. Ruling party filibusters special probe bill on Marines' debt. The opposition Democratic Party, or DP, tabled a bill calling for a special counsel investigation into the military's response to a Marine's death last year, prompting a filibuster from the ruling People Power Party, or PPP, which is currently ongoing. This is the first bill tabled at the 22nd National Assembly for a vote. The PPP launched a filibuster, or a continuous debate, to block the bill from passing. The DP, however, submitted a request to vote to stop the filibuster after 24 hours. The opposition sphere has over 3/5 majority required to stop the filibuster. And this has put a stop to the parliamentary questioning of the cabinet ministers scheduled for yesterday. Yoon announces support for small businesses and lambast DP's cash handout. President Yoon Suk-yeol yesterday announced a comprehensive plan worth 25 trillion won for customized support for small businesses. Yoon blamed social distancing restrictions and excessive loans during the pandemic as the fundamental cause of difficulties small businesses are experiencing at this moment. The president also critiqued the opposition DP's cash handout proposal, questioning why one would stop at 250,000 won and not 1 billion or 10 billion won per person. Asan Medical Center professors to adjust treatment starting today. Professors affiliated with the Asan Medical Center said they will voluntarily adjust treatment starting today instead of taking an indefinite leave of absence. The professors are expected to take the same course of action as they would for a leave of absence, including rescheduling or deferring reserved non-critical or non-emergency treatments. As this is going on, a group of around 1,000 patients and their families will hold a rally in Seoul this morning in protest of the doctors' collective action, the biggest collective patients association action to date. Son Woong-jung's father questioned over child abuse accusation. Coach Son Woong-jung, the father of footballer Son Heung-min, has been questioned by prosecutors over his child abuse allegations. Chuncheon prosecutors questioned Son and two of the coaches at Son Football Academy on Tuesday over accusations that they had physically and verbally abused a young player. The senior Son has denied abuse allegations against himself and his coaches. The 62-year-old has also claimed that the player's parents have made false accusations and that he was willing to cooperate with the authorities. Deadly Hurricane Beryl headed for Jamaica after killing 7. A deadly hurricane that has been tearing through the southeast Caribbean is expected to make landfall in Jamaica, then onto the Cayman Islands. At least 7 people have already been killed in the path of the storm across Grenada, Venezuela, and St. Vincent's and the Grenadines. The director of the U.S. National Hurricane Center says that the core of the major hurricane will pass near or over southern Jamaica, bringing a life-threatening storm. Hurricane Beryl became the earliest storm to develop into a Category 5 hurricane in the Atlantic on Monday local time before weakening to a still very destructive Category 4. And this was News Highlights. Let's get to it. Let's get ready to waggle waggle. Haley's back in the studio with us. All right, so first, this issue. A school inspector with the Busan Office of Education was found dead recently, and it seems that their work may have played a part in the death.
Right, so this happened on June 27th, where a school inspector in Korean, that's Chang Hak-sa with the Busan Office of Education, was found dead in their home in Biryang. So this official was apparently suffering from heavy complaints over a selection of a principal at a local school here in Busan. So there was also that case, we covered it recently back in Gimpo, where a public official was found dead after an apparent suicide, after he received this onslaught of calls following, and even cyberbullying actually, following a road closure incident where he approved a road to be closed for construction. and people are mad at him for causing the traffic. So these, one could say malicious public comments, or at least excessive public comments and complaints can even get violent. As in April of this year, there was a person who came into the Okcheon County office in Chungbuk nearly every day, sometimes drunk, and even there was a public urinating accident in the incident in the hallway.
Yes, yes. Such, I don't know, anytime I hear about like public officers, being found dead or having allegedly committed suicide due to other people, anyhow, the municipalities, they are taking some measures to protect their employees, right?
Right. So a lot of cities and provinces are actually deleting the names of these government servants off of their websites to varying levels, like leaving just the surname or the family name, or leaving names of like managerial positions and above.
Right.
Others have installed recording devices and are actually running drills on what to do when there are violent citizens coming in for complaints or verbal assault. And Changwon City even gave out protective gear.
Protective gear,
Right, and wearable cameras. So basically kind of what police officers are equipped with, now public officials are having to wear one too. And then some cities also pay for legal fees and are actively encouraging their employees to take legal action if something has been done to them.
I see.
But there are comments from experts saying that essentially removing names of officials, that could go against the policy of open administration.
Right.
That the citizens have a right to know who is in charge of their taxpayer public work, and that also the higher ups and institutions do need to actively engage in problem solving, because often the victims are amongst lower ranked employees, public officials who, number one, don't have the experience, number two, don't know if they have the authority to speak out, and the thing that they fear the most is 민원. Customer, citizen, civic complaints.
Yes.
So there's also an odd perception in Korea. Some people do overly rely on public officials and government offices to resolve personal issues. What I mean, for example, there was apparently a case of people calling a district office for illegal parking at an apartment complex that was preventing a moving truck from coming in. Experts say that these are some things that can be dealt with. I mean, they could call the police or even a tow truck, but calling a district office seems like an interesting choice. Right.
So let's make sure that we're not these black.
We're not contributing to the problem,
consumers.
Right?
Yes. All right. For our next story, let's talk about Japan, which has unveiled some new bank notes. And this is kind of rifling some feathers because of historical issues.
Right. So Japan is minting 3 new bills. So they're issuing new bills to pay and are putting them into circulation next month. But the figure on the new 10,000 yen bill is under controversy. So this person is Shibusawa Ichi. He's known as the father of Japan's capitalism and an economic bureaucrat from the Meiji period.
Okay.
And he was even featured on the banknotes back in the early 1900s. But as for, we can bluntly say, why do we care? Well, we care because for Korea, he holds a significant difference. So I've actually brought a song from the musical and now turned into film, 영웅, Hero, the song 누가 죄인인가, Who is the Criminal? Let's take a listen.
조선의 토지와 광산과 산림을 빼앗은 죄 일본은행권 화폐를 강제로 사용케 한 죄
Right. So once again, that is the musical number 누가 죄인인가, Who's the Criminal, from the musical 영웅 Hero, sung by actor Jung Sung-hwa, who plays the martyr Anjungun. So this is a scene where Anjungun stands trial for assassination of Ito Hirobumi. And and this is actually taken from Anjungun's speech that he did give at the actual trial.
Right.
So while he is he will ultimately be convicted as a criminal, he lays out, who is the criminal? Here are the crimes that Japan has committed against the people of Joseon.
I see.
The lyrics you just heard to accusing Japan of the crimes of exploiting Joseon's land, its mines and forests, and forcing people to use Japan's banknotes. And that's where we go back to this story.
Yes.
So the director of Anjungun Memorial Association released the old banknotes that were referred during that time between the early 1900s. And that's the figure. Explained that Shibusawa Eiichi was at the forefront of Japan's economic exploitation of Korea, and this banknote serves as a symbol of Japan's economic colonization. So director of the Anjungun Association, Mr. Lee Sang-hyun, who's also a collector of banknotes, says that in the bills that were released between 1908 and 1909, that's where his face was featured. And then later, Japan would then change the designs of the banknotes to feature some Korean landmarks like Gwanghwamun as kind of a form of cultural assimilation in this very systematic exploitation, not only just physically, but also emotionally, mentally of the Korean peninsula.
Yes.
So here's the point that really hits home.
Okay.
Director Lee says that, it's vacation season with the lowered yen, the currency rate. People do travel to Japan more and more, and that has become commonplace. But that he wishes to raise the awareness of if you are spending that money physically, knowing what the person that's featured on that highest valued banknote in the Japanese currency means to our country.
Right. So thanks for bringing this story to our attention. So we are much better aware of this, and even if we can't change the banknote, we at least know about it.
Exactly.
We're aware. All right. Many of us have a kind of like a comfort, I don't know, blanket, blankie, or stuffed animal. I had one, hence I had a huge accident when I was younger because of that stuffed animal.
Oh.
Still have
Right.
the dented head. Yes, but I guess some of us still carry these things into our adulthood.
Some people do, and it kind of acts like, memorabilia. I have a friend who framed her childhood blanket. So it is actually in a frame, like art. I mean, it's gray. It used to not be gray.
I still have mine though.
Do you really?
I have mine. It's not used, but it's stored away in a safe place.
Right.
But I still
Interesting.
have
And I
it.
mean,
But I don't carry it around with me.
Right. Well, this person did, and then he lost it, which
no.
I mean, the emotional damages. So a Chinese tourist in Spain lost his favorite stuffed animal. So according to South China Morning Post, this man is in his 20s. He had a stuffed animal that he named Pang, and he's very attached to it, keeps it next to his bed, and even celebrates the stuffed animal's birthday. I mean,
This is a grown man, right?
This is a grown man.
Okay.
People have fun. Do what you will, Well, he took this stuffed animal to his trip to Spain, but at a subway station, he realized it was missing.
Oh, no.
So likely they suspect a pickpocketer had mistaken this stuffed animal, which is kind of like handheld size,
Oh, it's
for
a
his
small one.
wallet,
Okay.
and took it. So basically he panicked and went into cancel everything mode. So he canceled the rest of his trip to other cities. He stayed in
Wait.
Barcelona.
Because of his...
His stuffed animal was gone. Right. Pang. So changed his travel plans to stay in Barcelona to search for Pang. He even initially put up a 5,000 euro reward, and that's about 7.4 million won. It's like 740만 원.
To find this stuffed animal?
To find, someone who gives him information or finds it, he will reward 5,000 euros. But netizens kind of calmed him down, saying if you offer too much money, you might get scammers. So they actually convinced him to take off a zero, which is still like 74만 원. 500 euros is a significant
Is
amount.
it still up there?
It's, well, here's a spoiler.
Okay.
He found it.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he found it. Yeah, so this is a happy story. You know how I like to end on a happy story.
Ending.
Well, initially, a lot of people online, even the local police, cast it off as they took an "Are you serious?" tone.
There he is.
There he is. But then he said Pang is the most important thing in his life. Oh, by the way, he lost his passport too. Did not care. Did not face him. Whatever. He can get a new one.
If you're on our YouTube channel, we
do have a visual.
And who's the... I'm assuming the guy crying.
The guy crying is obviously
him, right?
the man. Well, people start to help him. And this is, I love it when people come forward. One woman provided him with free lodging whilst he stays in Barcelona and looks for Pang. Wow. Chinese students in Barcelona helped him pass out flyers and encouraged him to not give up. Finally, a week after, he got a call from a custodian. He's the guy you saw on the left side of the picture at a subway station. Apparently, Pang was discarded between a ticket kiosk and a wall, just stuck in that little space. So the man, of course, plans on rewarding the custodian who found him.
What is it? Is it a sloth?
I think it's a sloth.
Oh, that is cute.
Yeah.
나무늘보?
나무늘보.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cute, but I don't know. There's so many questions I want to ask.
It's so
but
wagle-worthy.
I can't ask on air. But anyhow, yes, thank you for all the good stories, but especially this one, to end it on this one.
Right.
So we
That
can
was
end up
fun.
smiling. All right. Thank you so much, Haley.
Have a great day.
We're going to check in with her tomorrow, of course. And for now, here is your updated traffic and weather. It is now 16 past the hour. Here's your traffic report. There was a cargo truck that was broken down on Gwanmun-daero from Baegang-tunnel Ogui three-way intersection to the tunnel, and there was it's been cleared up, but there's a lot of backup because of it. Congestion at the Mandak intersection going towards the Deokjeon ramp on the Namhae Expressway right now. It's also looking slow on Duno-Samsung-daero from Myeongji underpass to Shino Bridge. Also congested on Kaya-daero from Kaegum to Jure intersection. Currently it's 26 under sunny skies. It's going to be a hot one today because it's going to go all the way up to 32. Across this country, though, we might see some heavy rain in certain areas concentrated in the capital area, parts of Gangwon, Chungnam, and then spreading to Chungbuk and Gyeongbuk by nighttime. We might have thunderstorms and strong winds from tonight to tomorrow morning, so please be prepared. And this was your traffic and weather. And here's our next song. This is Love Me Like You Do by Ellie Goulding.
You're the color of my blood. You're the cure. You're the pain. You're the only thing I want to touch. Never knew that it could mean so much. So much. You're the fear. I don't care. 'Cause I've never been so high. Follow me through the dark. Let me take you past the satellites. You can see the world you brought to life, to life. So love me like you do, la la, love me like you do. Love me like you do, la la, love me like you do. Touch me like you do, ta ta, touch me like you do. What are you waiting for? Fading in, fading out, on the edge of paradise. Every inch of your skin is a holy grail I've gotta find. Only you can set my heart on fire, on fire. Yeah, I'll let you set the pace.
Yes, welcome back. And it's time to talk about our text topic one last time before we get into our special interview. So today was all about sales and purchases. And so many messages. So I'm just going to parse through a couple. But I do want to mention JB Waiver because he says this. 세일은 상술, 단위 무게당 가격으로 장을 봅니다. Oh, this is so good because I think, well, basically he says when he goes shopping, he always looks at the per unit price. Like, for example, the weight of something per unit, and then he does the math behind that. And so many people kind of agree with him, Tommy as well. Actually, I have started doing that. Somebody pointed out to me, if you look at the price tag of something at the very bottom, and I don't like how it's like in minute, the smallest font ever. 정말 작게 적잖아요. 그 단위 가격. 근데 글 잘 보셔야 돼요. And then you can really compare. We all have our smartphones, so get your calculator out if you have to. Do the math to really compare. And then what I also don't like is sometimes they say it's on sale, but then they kind of inflate the original price, so it seems like you're getting like 50, 70, 80% off. And then later on, like when you think about it, you're like, hey, it wasn't really this original price, was it? And I wish, I could say stores don't do that, but they do. And on a personal note, yes, I love stocking up on things that I know I'm going to use over and over again. Things like shampoo, like body wash, or like even my eyebrow pencils when it's 1+1 at the all thing store, that one. I do stock up, but because I know I'm going to use it, it's not going to go to waste. Anyhow, we are going to dive into our special interview in a moment. It is time for a special interview. So this story has definitely been making the waves, as they say. So Son Woong-jung, father of Son Heung-min, he, as I told you, just with the news, he was questioned by the prosecution, I believe on Tuesday, into this case. So he apparently, along with two other coaches, are being accused of child abuse. And this is apparently allegedly occurred at the Son Football Academy. And so this whole idea of secondary harm because of the recorded conversations by Son's side, this is an issue that we also want to tackle. And the legality regarding these charges, are they criminal charges? How serious is this? And recent reports reveal that the parent offered to secretly pay, I guess, 1 billion won to Son's attorney in exchange for securing a 5 billion won settlement. We don't know if this is true as well. Let's find out because there's a lot to unfold. We have invited back to the airways Professor Song Se-ryun, who is a professor of law at Kyung University. He's joining us once again. Hi, Professor. Welcome back.
Hello, good to join you.
Yes. So this case is such a hot story right now. So first, if you could give us the details about the exact allegations against Son Woong-jung and how they were brought to light in the first place.
Right, as you laid out, the senior son, Son Heung-min's father, runs a Son Football Academy in Chuncheon.
Yes.
And they apparently had a training camp in Okinawa in Japan in March of this year. And then the allegation was that he, along with his coaches, one of them is actually Son Heung-min's older brother,
yes,
verbally and physically abused the young player. So that was when they came back. Parents are upset about it, referred it to the police back in April, but it came to the public's eye when the Yonhap News reported it in June. So there has been some back and forth, and later on, the interesting development is that there was a phone call or phone calls where a settlement was discussed, and the boy's father apparently demanded about 500 million won. And in that same conversation, he offered the attorney who represents a senior son some kickback or rebate of 100 million won if he's helpful in securing the 500 million won settlement. So that kind of branched out to very weird places.
Yes.
It started out as a abuse issue, and interesting, the controversy about, what can be done and how we are brought up as a elite sports players in Korea. Practice was different back then. Everyone was being, having a corporal punishment in different kinds. But these days, the world has changed. So that discussion quickly turned into kind of shady dealings issue as well.
Right. So it does seem that the whole mention of compensation or money in any which way kind of takes away from, I believe, one of the main issues, which was there child abuse committed by Son Woong-jung or one of the other coaches at this academy? I mean, shouldn't that be the main point? Was this particular child athlete, student athlete, abused or not?
Right. The key question should be whether there's a trauma inflicted on the child, whether the whole practice of this academy was up and in the right place, and whether their permit should be maintained. It has to be focused on the practice and especially the student. But it seemed like now we're talking about completely different things.
Yes. And so regarding the recordings, Professor, basically, is this secondary harm? I mean, is this even legal? Because most people, we seem to, as lay people, we seem to understand that if you are party, for example, to that particular conversation, are we to understand that it is legal to record? But then in this case, can you elaborate on what exactly happened?
Yeah, the attorney representing the senior son was talking with the victim's father, and he recorded this conversation, and it's completely legal.
Okay.
Because under the Protection of Communication Secret Act, if you're the party to the conversation, you can record it without getting the consent of the other party. Now, the thorny question comes in when you want to release it to the public.
Right.
And that gets into another area, whether the other person who did not consent to the recording and release, his privacy or is invaded, or if there is some confidential information that gets into another violation of law. But in this case, I think the consensus, probably the 89% of the lawyers would say, well, this release was necessitated to defend the position and to make light, to make transparent what is going on. So this issue has been kind of in the public mind, whether the release is per se illegal or not, but it is not. The case laws would say if it serves some public interest and some purpose to defend yourself and for information reasons, proving reasons, you can do it. If you don't have those causes and just wantonly release it, denigrating the reputations or the privacy issue, then you can get sued civilly for damages.
Indeed. Thanks for explaining that. Now going back to the allegations involving physical and verbal abuse at this particular football academy. So how does the South Korean law typically handle cases of alleged abuse in sports? Because, I have personal experience. My son went through an elite sports program for a different sport, for basketball. And I have to say, not at his particular school, but I have seen in other schools, I won't name names, but signs of abuse. And how does the law handle this?
Yeah, if you just look at the law in our schools, for example, the corporal punishment was outlawed in 2011, so decades ago. And even at home, the parents cannot, strike your children since 2021 because there's a right to punishment was deleted from the civil act. So in Korea, if you just go by the law, no striking of children, which I think is a good direction.
Yes.
Now, because this law has developed pretty quickly, if you ask all the sports figures in Korea, their training in their youth would have been completely different.
Right.
A lot of people grew up in a very physical and very competitive and, a lot of corporal punishment and others. So I think that the debate is still there, that in order to raise a elite sports figure, do we need to go that far? I think the majority, I would assume, is against that. But, there are still a number of people who would say, whatever it takes to get up.
Right. Indeed, indeed. So right now, where are we with this investigation and case? From what I understand, on Tuesday, Son Woong-jung was called into the prosecution through his lawyer, saying basically he will cooperate with the investigation. So what happens next in this process?
Yeah, it was reported to the police first, and then it was transferred to prosecutor's office. So they are looking into this, investigating and getting the testimonies and looking at the evidences. So that's where they are. I think the release of these recordings, you think they'll give them fresh fodder to look at whether there is some illegal acts on either side. I think that the offer of rebate, I think that gets them into certain dicey situation because they're baiting the attorney to violate his ethical duties and also duties that it can get him into trouble with the criminal laws and the civil laws as well.
Right, right. And then I think it brings us back to the original question of, yes, was there abuse involved? And then it does make it look kind of suspicious. Like, what is the intent behind the parents who are reporting the alleged abuse? And then is it offer money, or is it really abuse plus this aftermath of, I guess, some rebate or asking for compensation? So is there a way that we can wade through this where they're going to be able to kind of decipher what really happened?
Well, I guess once we get all the statements from the prosecutor's office, probably the picture will emerge. I think I'm just speculating now.
Yes, of course.
But all the parents will be upset at the bruise marks on their kids and react, and they want to get something done for their own kid and also for other kids. So I think that's what the police and the prosecutors are doing. But when we talk about the settlement, because settlement comes into the picture, either in the criminal law and the civil law as well, once you get into the negotiation mode, then some people say inappropriate things. And I think if the news reports are to be believed, then the parents went too far. Maybe it wasn't their true intentions, but what was said is said, and it's etched in stone, so to speak, in the recording. So I think that this case has the different facets as we're talking about what this sports training should look like in here. But now I think that what to be done for a celebrity's father who is demanded of a large sum only because Son Heung-min, who's not even around,
Right.
is in the public's mind.
Indeed.
I think that it became an interesting case, but I think it's an unfortunate case as well. I think that there has been shared understanding that Son and his senior was very passionate about the future of Korean soccer and the training, and they're investing a lot. But as a senior son said, I think I believe him too. His passion is there, but he has his old ways. In this changed world, maybe not really jive well.
Well, of course, we're going to continue to follow this case, but thank you for clarifying some of the real issues that are surrounding this very hot case. Thank you, Professor. Take care.
My pleasure. Thank you.
This is Professor Song Se-ryun once again, and we talked about this case involving the senior Son Woong-jung and whether this has become a case of child abuse versus now the damages that they're asking for the parents, and whether that amounts to any illegal activity in terms of the rebate or so-called kickback. And so we will continue to follow this case. Well, we are going to take a short song break before we get into our next segment. So this is 알 수 없는 인생 by 이문세.
언제쯤 사랑을 다 알까요? 언제쯤 세상을 다 알까요? 얼마나 살아봐야 할까요? 정말 그런 날이 올까요? 시간을 되돌릴 순 없나요? 조금만 늦춰줄 순 없나요? 눈부신 그 시절 나의 지난 날이 그리워요. 그런 날이네요. 하루가 왜 이리 더 빠르죠? 나 가끔은 거울 속에 비친 내가 무척 어색하죠. 정말 몰라보게 변했네요. 한때는 달콤한 꿈을 꿨죠. 가슴도 설레었죠. 괜시리 하얀 밤을 지새곤 했죠. 언제쯤 사랑을 다 할까요? 언제쯤 세상을 다 할까요? 얼마나 살아봐야 할까요? 정말 그런 날이 올까요? 시간을 되돌릴 순 없나요? 조금만 늦춰줄 순 없나요? 눈부신 시절 나의 지난 날이 그리워요. 생각나죠. 당신도 나만큼 변했겠죠. 그래요. 가끔 나 이렇게 당신 때문에 웃곤 해요. 그땐 정말 우리 좋았었죠. 하지만 이대로 괜찮나요? 사랑했죠. 추억은 추억일 땐 아름답겠죠. 언제쯤 사랑을 다 알까요? 언제쯤 세상을 다 알까요? 얼마나 살아봐야 할까요? 정말 그런 날이 올까요? 아직도 많은 날이 남았죠. 난 다시 누군가를 사랑할 테죠. 알 수 없는 인생이라도 아름답죠. 언젠가 내 사랑을 찾겠죠.
Get your local up-to-date news from Korea and abroad right here on Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Stay tuned.
It is time for City Insight, so that means Haeyeon. She's in the studio now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, so it is time for our segment. And
Yes.
really quick before we get into our segment, text topic is about sales. So 50% off versus 1+1 or, buy one, get one free. Does it matter? Are you affected by sales?
I'm
or
much more affected by the 50%.
the 50%?
Yeah, that just really
That draws you in.
up.
Oh, panka.
Then I'm I got to run to it. Yeah.
Oh, like literally?
yeah,
run,
I
don't
run
walk?
to this the number 50. Yeah.
But what about the 1+1?
that just makes me feel it feels like a trick. They're just trying to get me to get one more. And then
interesting.
that gets me into the mindset of ooh, do I really need that?
But the 50%
Whereas
off, you're there.
Yeah.
Okay, all the retailers out there, keep that in mind. 50% off,
Yeah,
not the
make
1+1.
the numbers 50 in bold letters. And then I'm there.
All right. Now we're going to dive into our first insight.
All right. So question to the waivers out there. Do you know how many official languages there are in Korea? So it's easy to think there's one, but
Yes.
there's actually two.
Really?
They're Korean and the Korean Sign Language.
Yes.
So
yes.
for our first insight, I sat down with the director of the only sign language performance team in the country. They're called 조용한 수다, which translates to quiet chatter. That'll be Mr. Kim Seok-ki.
Well, tell us more about them.
So when they first started about a decade ago, they started with pop songs and musical numbers to connect with the audiences. But now they're more focused on original plays about Busan's 중구 area's histories, because that's where they're based in, including the Korean War and the independence movements. Also, plays about real-life stories from deaf individuals, blending sign language with music, dance, and other forms of arts. And since sign language can vary by region and individual styles, to make sure there's clarity in their performances, he said they have their sign language scripts reviewed by more than one deaf individual or interpreters before they go into rehearsals.
Wow. So what inspired Mr. Kim Seok-ki to start this performance group?
So he shared that he used to come across a lot of deaf people in his line of work. So he decided to learn sign language to overcome the language barrier.
I see.
But around that time, which was more than 10 years ago, he said that programs or schools for sign language was hard to come by. So after searching for a while, he met this lovely deaf couple who were selling knickknacks out of their truck. So he convinced them to teach him sign language while he was helping them out. And then since then, he took it upon himself to create a curriculum and teach sign language too.
Yes.
And then he started to use street performance and busking to make sign language more accessible to the public. And then voila, 조용한 수다, the group was born.
I even love that name.
Yeah.
The meaning behind it too,
Right?
right? Also, the beauty of art lies in representation, right? It's not just for one segment of the population or even for the majority. And so I'm sure it's really moving for members of the deaf community to watch these performances, right?
I think it's so powerful when we get to see ourselves in art or
that's
culture,
true.
whether that's movies or plays. And actually in the next clip, Mr. Kim Seok-ki talks about a very significant moment that he had with some audience members right after a performance. Let's take a listen.
5년 전쯤이었던 것 같아요. 지금의 모습이 아닌 예전 모습의 부산역 광장에서 버스킹 공연을 진행했었는데, 아주머님 두 분이 이제 공연이 끝나고 저희가 정리하고 있을 때 저희한테 다가오시더라고요. 알고 봤더니 농인 두 분이셨는데, 저희가 공연하는 모습을 보고 이제 일이 있지만 끝까지 저희 공연을 지켜봐 주셨더라고요.
네.
공연이 끝나고 이제 저희가 뒷정리를 하고 있는데 저희 오셔선 한 손으로는 이제 저희 단원들 배우들의 손을 꼭 붙잡고 다른 한 손으로는 수어를 하시면서 연신 고맙다고 고개를 숙여 인사를 하시는 거예요. 살면서 이러한 공연을 본 적이 없는데 부산에 와서 너무 큰 경험을 하신 거라고 자기들을 위한 공연을 해주는 것 같아서 너무 큰 위안이 된다고 행복하다고 그렇게 좀 눈물을 글썽이면서 저희 배우들한테 인사를 하고 계시는 거예요. 그걸 옆에서 지켜보는 저희도 굉장히 좀 울컥하더라고요.
So about 5 years ago, when they were busking at the old Busan Station Plaza, these two older women approached them, and it turned out that they were both deaf. After the show, the women came to the actors, and they were just like holding the actors' hands with one hand and then signing with the other, saying that they had never seen this kind of a performance in their lives, and that they felt as if the show was just for them. So she was thanking them, and they were tearful, expressing gratitude. And Mr. Kim Seok-ki said that it was a really emotional moment for the whole team.
I'm sure.
And that sentiment stayed with them and serves as a source of strength whenever they come experience hardships. Yeah. Well, and also the group, 조용한수다, they offer free weekend sign language classes. So if anyone in Busan out there is interested in learning sign language, they have them available. And they also offer this thing called SOS Project, where they visit local facilities like police stations or hospitals to provide basic sign language training to the staff. So yeah, they're really doing the work to help the community.
Yes, it does seem so. So thanks for this first insight for our waivers out there. Let's move on to our second one, though.
All right. So I spoke to a local travel expert and the CEO of a travel agency called 부산 여행특공대, Mr. Son Woong-jung. So he actually coined his own nickname. He's the Ibaguste.
Ibaguste. That's a portmanteau. Right?
Yeah, Ibagu means 이야기 in Busan dialect,
right.
So a storyteller.
I love it.
Because his philosophy in traveling is that the story of the region and the people should always be at the center of the traveling.
Sure.
He's someone who's been hard at work to introduce the hidden and lesser known places of Busan. And his thing is that to really understand Busan, you have to explore the mountains just as much as the beaches and the oceans.
Yes.
And he's the first to plan a travel program that takes you to the original downtown areas of Busan, including 산복도로.
Yes. And of course, Hanbok-doro has several neighborhoods that are really, really rich in history, especially from the wartime capital time. Of course, we have the Amidong Tombstone Culture Village, right?
That's right. So when Mr. Son Woong-jung was telling me the history of that area, Amidong 비석 문화마을,
yes.
I was really mesmerized, and I totally understood why he calls himself the Ibaguste. I won't do him justice, but to give you a little gist, that village was formed when Korean War refugees settled in what used to be a burial ground for Japanese residents pre-광복. So they were building houses and living on graves. It was close to job opportunities where the markets were. So the well-paved graveyard became a place of survival. And the village really stands as a symbol of, the hope and the determination of the people back then.
Yes.
Yeah. And yes, the agency also, by putting forth these stories of the people instead of just the glitz and glam of the traveling. So in the next clip, let's take a listen to him talk about another famous village of that area, 산복도로, the Kamcheon Culture Village. Let's have a listen.
감천문화마을은 마을 미술 프로젝트와 이 도시재생 사업을 통해서 이 공공과 주민이 함께 이 문화라는 이름으로 만들어낸 부산에서 가장 유명한 마을입니다. 사실 마을의 시작은 1955년에 보수동에 있었던 이 4,000여 명의 태극도 신도들이 이곳으로 집단 이주를 해오면서부터입니다. 태극도 교주였던 이 조철제의 명에 따라서 모든 길은 통하게, 그리고 앞집이 뒷집을 가리지 않게, 기차같이 길쭉했던 일렬의 집들에는 방 한 칸, 부엌 한 칸만을 배치하고 공동 화장실을 쓰도록 계획하에 만들어진 마을이었습니다. 지금도 마을 속의 골목은 미로 같지만 이 모든 길이 통하고 맨손으로 산을 깎아 마을이 만들어졌기에 한 사람이 겨우 지날 정도로 골목이 좁습니다. 가끔 이제 감천문화마을에 살고 계신 어른들은 행복할까요? 라는 그런 질문들을 이 여행자에게 던져봅니다.
네.
여행자 입장에서는 감천문화마을이 예쁘고 감성적이고 설레이는 여행지일지는 몰라도 지금도 에어컨 없이 방 한 칸, 부엌 한 칸의 삶을 이어가고 계신 이 어른들의 입장에서는 관광지로 인식한 여행객들이 불편할 수밖에 없을 겁니다.
So he said that the Gamcheon Culture Village is a well-known area in Busan, transformed through art projects and urban regeneration. The village's origins date back to 1955 when about 4,000 Taegukdo followers relocated there from Bosudong. The leader of the group back then planned the village so that all of the paths connected and no houses were blocking each other. And the homes were very simple with a single room and kitchen, and there were communal bathrooms that I hear that actually still exist.
Okay.
He sometimes, when he's giving tours for people, throws out the question to his travelers.
Yes.
Do we think that the senior citizens living in the Gamcheon village are happy, living happily? Because there's a stark contrast between the residents' lives and the tourist perceptions of the place.
Right.
While tourists find the village very charming and picturesque, many people living there without much modern conveniences like even air conditioning, and they have to face a lot of daily disruptions because of the tourism, sometimes with issues of like trash and, loud noises at night.
Right.
A common sight in the village is the little prince in the fox statue.
Right.
A lot of people take photos in front of it. But he says visitors often miss what these figures are actually looking at, which is the entire village and its people's history. The true value of Gamcheon lies in understanding and respecting the lives and stories of its residents. So, something to think about the next time you go to the Gamcheon Culture Village.
Yes. And as we travel anywhere within Korea, to be respectful of that local area, the residents, but still to enjoy the rich history that that area may provide, right?
Definitely.
But I love that question. Do we think the seniors living there are happy? Something to definitely think about. So thank you so much for bringing us to really meaningful city insights today. And of course, we will check in with you real soon. Thank you, Han.
All right, bye-bye.
Yes. So today we talked about so many issues. Of course, we talked about accidents, about what happens when we have vigilanteism, which we, of course, don't condone. Also, sports, injuries, in terms of child abuse, very controversial right now. But thank you so much for chiming in and tuning in today. And of course, we'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. For our final song, we're going to go with this one. It's an oldie but goodie, The Reason by Hoobastank. So have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.
I wish I didn't do, but I continue learning. to do those things to you. And so I have to say before I go,